one thing that has defined human nature throughout history. It is our irrepressible urge to move, to discover, and to cross new frontiers, to adapt to new environments, to appease an unquenchable curiosity that has been inherent in us since we developed as a species. Wanderlust. It's been part of our genetic makeup since time immemorial. Our earliest ancestors, it is believed, originated in Africa, and their fossils dating back to approximately 200,000 years ago have been discovered in Java, Indonesia, some 5,000 miles away. There we have it, evidence of the great human migrations, because of which we began colonizing other parts of the world. And by about 10,000 years ago, every major inhabitable landmass on Earth supported human life. All the ancient civilizations, whether it was the Indus Valley, Egyptian or Mesopotamian, all of them explored travel as a means to learn, to explore and to trade. Later, empires thrived on travel. Travel led to knowledge, to trade, to spreading the alphabet, to discovering uncharted territories and unfathomable riches and power. In fact, travel is knowledge. Take for example cartography, the making of maps. Now, the world was an enormous jigsaw puzzle that had to be painstakingly put together, and that only happened because of the voyages and explorations that culminated in the age of discovery, and that changed our understanding of the world forever. Some of the grand theories of the world came into being through travel. Had Charles Darwin, a young naturalist, not set out on the 5-year circumnavigation of the planet, he would never have come up with his theory of evolution by natural selection. All of these examples illustrate that travel defines us as a species, as it introduces us to new experiences and opens up our mind to all possibilities. Isn't it ironical that I stand here amongst all of you talking about travel when we have been ravaged by a pandemic and have all been stuck at home? In fact, this year has truly made me reflect and appreciate my travel experiences. I am fortunate to have traveled to 15 countries so far. Each country taught me something novel and distinct, and that process triggered within me a self-awareness about things that I truly enjoyed. I would love to share some of my personal experiences about travel and how they have shaped me. I have always been fascinated by animals. A visit to the Natural History Museum in London was an eye-opener to the diverse species inhabiting the planet, and I could face on my obsession with dinosaurs. The animal lover came alive again when visiting Australia, and I first saw the cuddly and cute koalas and kangaroos in their natural habitat. On the other hand, it was scary and exciting seeing the diverse snakes that were inhabiting the continent. When I visited the Great Barrier Reef and saw the myriad fish that it is home to, it made me appreciate our Mother Earth even more. I have always been interested in history and architecture, so you can imagine how exciting it was for me to see the grandeur and splendor of the Palace of Versailles. A visit to the Sissi Museum in Vienna made me understand the link between the Austro-Hungarian Empire and the French monarchy. It was in Prague that I truly understood what a fairy tale castle looks like. I love nature and I enjoy walking through parks and gardens. An idyllic stroll through the rolling pastures in Scotland, Hyde Park in London, Edinburgh Gardens in Melbourne or the Van Dyke Park in Amsterdam can teach you so much about how people in those countries interact, the activities they pursue and how they dress. On the other hand, visits to Turkey got me to appreciate the magnificence of the Byzantine and the Ottoman art and architecture. And of course, other shop fronts were displayed differently and bargaining was encouraged in the atmospheric Grand Bazaar in Istanbul was fascinating. All these travel that this year. What I'm arguing about is that to take learning to another level and to include travel in our curriculum. This can take several forms, such as visiting another city, a historical monument, a nature reserve, or another country whenever that is possible. I am also broadening the typical travel definition, since we live in uncharted waters, to welcome students and possibly teachers from another part of the country or overseas. For example, living in Punjab, we are cut off from how living in one of the northeastern states might be. Why not invite a teacher to explain the history and geography of that region, or a student from that region into our class? We can have short excursions to different parts of the country. What better way to appreciate the short temple of Mahabalipuram than to actually visit it? We can have extensive pre-departure sessions in which we are educated on what to expect and watch documentaries, and this can be a trailer for our real-life experience. We might even be given a crash course on the local language. Such experiential learning will make us more sensitive to the people living in another corner of the country or the world. Perhaps reflective essays need to be decorated as a part of that assessment. Ibn Battuta, a famous traveler, once said, "Travel leaves you speechless and then turns you into a storyteller." Academic literature suggests that students who are engaged in a field trip type of educational setting have more acute observation skills and can memorize and retain facts much better than students who did not participate in any such program. Travel can morph you into a much better, more responsible and well-rounded person. It goes without saying that it sheds narrow communal, sectional and religious prejudices and helps us embrace cultural diversities. Barriers crumble, walls of ignorance tumble down, and a magnanimous sense of tolerance creeps in. We also realize that we are all the same in many ways, in spite of our differences. And what better way to start this integration than our student lives? Now, some of you might be wondering that every place nowadays is approachable through the internet. Undoubtedly, the internet is a window to the world, and we spend a significant portion of our waking lives peering into it, and the view is certainly getting better by the day. Never has the world been so instantly explorable and connected. And yet, it is more important that we continue to travel, go, see, and experience for ourselves. Our windows to the world may be indispensably useful, but they give a mere hint of the real thing. Technology should be used to enhance, not replace our experiences. The last century has seen the world's attention drawn towards the extremities of the planet. The deepest oceans, the highest mountains, the bitterly cold polar regions, and eventually beyond our little blue and white marble into space itself. There may be many limits within our world, but one thing that knows no bounds is our collective curiosity. So friends, who knows when and how we can travel freely again? But one thing is for sure, the post-COVID world will look very different from what it was in 2019. This means that we need to embrace change, and incorporating travel in our curriculum may be one positive outcome of the pandemic. I would urge all educational institutions to incorporate a student travel program so that we can give into that wanderlust, go, see and experience for ourselves, and indulge wholeheartedly in the endlessly changing horizon. We must remember the words of St. Augustine: "The world is a book, and those who do not travel read only a page." Thank you.